Hey everyone, it's Jennifer, and I just wanted to tell you thank you for supporting the Got It From My Mama podcast. My listeners mean so much. I love having you on this journey. I can't believe how this little idea I had to talk to moms has grown. It's been so fun to have you on the journey. In addition to listening or watching, here's a few other ways that you can support the podcast. 1, subscribe, whatever platform you're listening on, and leave a review. This helps other people find the podcast. Number 2, follow us on Instagram. We post a lot of fun content over there, and of course we give you easy links to watch or to listen each week. 3, subscribe to the Got It From My Mama podcast on YouTube. I think you might really enjoy watching some of these interviews. And finally, be sure to support our partners. They are the reason that we can bring you these awesome mom interviews each week at no charge. Okay, right now let's get started with this week's episode. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Today, Kailey Dickerson joins me on the couch, and yes, she brought her coffee. Kailey hosts the popular podcast Coffee with Kailey, and she is the adorable wife of country music artist Russell Dickerson. They have 2 young boys, and I just love their story so much. Kailey has really been an integral part of Russell's success, and it's how they prioritize their faith, their family, and relationships that is so inspiring. Kailey is a great conversationalist, and I really think you're going to love getting to know her during this episode. All right, it is Coffee with Kailey, but on Got It From My Mama. So the perfect combination. Kailey brought her coffee over for our conversation.
Yes.
I love that you ask your guests on your podcast how they take their coffee.
When I remember to do so, yes.
Yeah.
I'm a big cold brew girl.
Yes, me too. Year round, really.
So I get a cold brew with cold foam on top, and just depends on the day, what flavor I want. But I don't get the flavor in the coffee.
Just in the foam?
Just in the foam. And it slowly melts into it because I don't like it too sweet.
Okay.
So it's a nice little something without...
Yeah. It looks perfect. It looks like how I like my coffee.
Very good.
So that's
it slowly melts into it. It's just, I love it. I love it.
Okay, it really is a good day to have a great day with Kailey, right?
It sure is.
Okay, has there ever been a more Russell Dickerson song than that one?
No, never. There's never. And I told him that. I just love... He writes a lot of love songs, which is very, very sweet. He's just the sweetest man in the world. But that song, I was like, I love this because it's you.
It is
like
so
this is you,
him.
And you give me so many songs, but like this is just like who you are. And I can't tell you the number of people who are like, oh, that was such a fun day when we did this and reminisce something. And they're like, yeah, Russell said it was the best day of his life. And I just don't like have the heart to tell him that he says that every single day. Be like, babe, this was the best day of my life.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, I love it. And all we did was like go to the neighborhood pool and hang out with neighbors and the kids. Like it's just, he's just like that.
He is sunshine.
Yeah,
I mean, he really is. I love it. I was thinking about, the song and how much it seemed like Russell. And for those of you who have been around for the podcast since we started about a year and a half ago, his mom, Carol, was one of our first guests that we had on. And I loved getting to know more about his story, and from his mom's perspective was so sweet. But one of my takeaways, I've never forgotten that she said this, but she said, she was talking about this positive spirit that is just innate in Russell. But she said that there was a time where he literally turned and looked at her and said, Mom, what does it mean to be depressed? Like he could not even identify with that.
Mm-hmm. And Carol's like that too. Carol's like pretty optimistic and the weather's amazing today. Like he gets that from his mama, I think.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say Carol would know how to be depressed either. She's just the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen him. We've definitely had low points in marriage. And I think seeing his optimism still through really hard times is like one of the most beautiful things, because that's one of the bravest things you can do.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to paint this picture that everything's all rosy. And,
right.
Y'all have had highs and lows and, career, marriage, life, all the things. But like you said, when you can still see that spark and that optimism behind that, that's a pretty special trait. And it's probably a pretty awesome guy to be married to.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty great. I highly recommend marrying a positive person.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to imagine. I think also our lifestyle as artists and stuff is incredibly difficult. Like just all of it, the travel, the everything. And I was like, if I was doing this with someone who wasn't positive or happy, this would be impossible.
Yeah. Is he 100% extrovert, or would you call him does he have, so many artists have, I'll use Connor for an example, but he's honestly an introvert, but he can go into that. And as soon as he steps on stage, he's so fed by, the people and the scene and the reaction and all the things that it's not a difficult shift for him, but he definitely needs his quiet alone time. I'm not somebody who needs to be alone. So I'm like, what?
He doesn't, but I notice it helps him.
Okay. Okay.
So I would say he's definitely an extrovert, but he has a lot of refueling, I think, that happens. I think everyone needs some amount of alone. We're supposed to spend time alone with the Lord at some point.
Yeah.
We do need something that fills the well back up. And for him, it's like chopping wood in the forest and throwing it on the bonfire, or I don't know, just chopping weeds in the yard.
Yeah. So it may look a little different than somebody else, but
he is definitely an extrovert. I remember we were on tour, and this was radio tour days, which are intense,
grueling.
And he was out with Thomas Rhett at the time, so he was doing radio tour and a major tour. So Sunday to Wednesday, he was doing radio tour, and then I'd bust out with the boys Wednesday night, and we'd meet up with him somewhere on Thursday.
Busting with the boys.
Literally.
That was Kailey's life for years.
I forgot about it. I was like, we're friends with those boys. And I was like, I feel like I should be on this podcast. I know it's mostly dudes. But
you probably should be on there.
I feel like I should be here because I truly bust with the boys, and still do. But he looked at me, and it was like day 5 of being up till midnight from some radio show in a 5 a.m. flight the next day. And it was just back to back to back to back. And I was just exhausted. And he looked at me and he was like, I am genuinely concerned for your health. I was exhausted. And I was like, I looked at him like the insane person that he is. And I was like, I am genuinely concerned for yours. How are you okay?
Yeah, how are you not impacted physically, mentally?
Normal. And he was like, oh yeah. And he looks around, it's me and the band, we're just just dying. And I was like, are you okay? How are you capable? But he was just built for it. He was he was made for it.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me about young Kailey. Where did you grow up? I want to know about your family.
Young Kailey grew up in Cedarburg, Wisconsin, which is like a Hallmark town in Wisconsin.
Aww.
30 minutes, 40 minutes north of Milwaukee. Population 10,000, just the cutest. One high school, one middle school. Grew up playing tennis, and I started playing tennis in high school, and then did musical theater, was in student council, just an achiever. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram.
Oh, you are? Okay.
So achieve.
Is Russell a 7?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
7 as the day is long. And so I like to say it makes us the perfect 10, the combo of the two of us.
I love that. Yeah, that's good.
Because he has a lot of dreams and I like to execute them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he has ADHD, and so I'm like, all right, how can we make it happen?
Yeah.
So we really are a dream team. And then I'm the youngest of 6 kids. I have 5 older brothers.
Wow.
So I was really made to bust with the boys.
No kidding. And then
I originated
your children
vanning with the boys because my brothers played soccer really competitively. And so one's a national champion, one's leading scorer in the Big Ten. He played for the Badgers. And
oh, wow.
so it was living in a van with the boys for soccer tournaments.
No kidding. Were you a little bit spoiled as finally the girl in the family?
So. My dad,
Not
people
really?
was always like, she must be spoiled. And they're like, no, we like to say she was overly loved, which that's true. Okay. But I wouldn't say, my brothers would probably say different. They'd be like, yeah, she was spoiled. She had a computer in high school or something. But I remember my brothers were inside playing video games, and I was cutting the grass outside on the riding mower, and it was an old mower, and it slipped out of gear and flew down the hill backwards, and I had to jump off of it, and I'm screaming. I was like, help! And they come outside. They were playing Zelda or something. Mind you, they're all so much older than me. And they were like, what is the matter with you? And I was like, and it crashed into a tree. Luckily, I had jumped off it. And they were like, stop being so dramatic. I was like, this isn't dramatic. I almost died out here. I guess that is kind of dramatic.
And you should be cutting the grass.
Yeah, you're the boys. But no, they were very anything we can do, you can do. Mm-hmm. And so I think they really did raise me to be empowered and believe in myself they weren't intentionally doing that, but they really did.
How did you end up at Belmont?
So my 5th brother went to Belmont.
Ah.
And because his best friend and their family, they started coming down here, and their older siblings went to Belmont. And so I visited, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love it here. And it was definitely the hardest school to get into that I applied and auditioned for, because it's a music school. Russell and I met in music school, and I was way more comfortable doing classical music, like opera style. That's how I had voice lessons in high school, and I would compete and did that sort of thing in Wisconsin and did pretty well. So in theory, I should have gotten into all the classical schools in Wisconsin. And I was just like, you know what, God, I just want to go wherever you want me to go. I was like, please don't let me in anywhere else. Like, I just want you to make the decision. And that's really how I've lived most of my life. And sure enough, I got into Belmont and none of the other ones.
So he closed the other doors and opened that one. And so it was quite obvious that's where.
I didn't even have a choice. Yeah.
So if I asked Kailey, senior in high school, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? Was it music at the time?
Yeah. And it's because I had this like vision of myself on a couch like this. Interesting. And I was talking to artists. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to go, because if I was to have like a sedentary life, I would have loved to be a family marriage counselor.
Oh, wow.
Like, I just am so passionate about relationships. And because I have all brothers, I feel like I really do understand a male perspective, but I'm also a female. So I have obviously the female perspective.
Yeah.
So I just really enjoy that. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to help people, like talk to them backstage and like keep them grounded and like tell them about the Lord. And I was like, okay, so I have to go to school for music. I have to be an artist. And so I went to school for music to be an artist because I thought.
Did you consider the counseling side of it or the family therapist side?
Nope.
Okay, so that was going to be your path to get to
help.
impact people in that way. Mm-hmm. That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm. And then fast forward, well, then I started doing photography. And in college, I was a photographer, videographer. Then I went on to do some weddings and stuff.
Why did you pick up a camera?
I just liked it.
Okay.
I did
Hobby,
it in high school
though?
too. Yeah.
Okay. So it was like a hobby.
I did a film
for you.
class in high school. And then in college, it was actually my friend Daniela who was like, "You're good at this. Will you take my headshot?" And I was like, "Sure." And I did. And it was like a good headshot. Now looking back, I'm like, it could have been better. But honestly, for my first, I was like, wow, that was actually like all right. And then she was musical theater. And so then it spread to the musical theater department. They're like, Kailey does headshots. And then it just turned into a business.
So it was like a little business you had in college on the side.
It was called Kaileyography.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And so then I ended up, all of the artist friends I had in the music school needed album covers and posters. So I started doing theirs. And that's when I was talking to them in cars on our photo shoots and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is how it is. This is how I'm going to like be backstage, hang out with artists, like help people on this career path.
Do it through photography.
Yeah. Because I knew I was called to be a Christian in the music industry. Like, I just knew that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, it'll be through photography because I hate performing. Like, I had to perform in school, and I was like, I do not like this. Like, I could do it when I had to pretend to be like Laurie in Oklahoma because I was Laurie and I wasn't myself.
So you liked musical theater.
Yeah.
And when you came, but your major was, what were you going to do with that degree? I mean,
that's a really great question. I don't know. I think I thought I ended up doing songwriting, which kind of salvaged the degree because I enjoyed that. So when I had to perform, I would write songs that I would perform. And it's been honestly such a gift because both of our majors were voice, but then our minors were music business.
Yours and Russell's?
Mine and Russell's. So I'm in every meeting he has. And the two of us have eyes on stuff. And like we both have caught individually things that were really significant in contracts or agreements or what's recoupable, what's not.
So even to this day, you're you see everything. Yes. You're in the meetings. You are actively, yeah.
Just as like someone else, because he knows he can trust me, you know?
When you were in college, did you play writer's nights? Did you go out and perform your original songs?
Because I didn't like performing. But I had to for my degree. So like in class, just in front of your peers.
Okay.
But like my peers were Russell, you know? And like my best friends. So it wasn't that bad. But anyway, yeah, so I did that and I took the photos and I was like, oh, so this is it. Like, and I would just sit in the car and people would just tell me about their lives. And like, we'd talk about people dating or like dating advice so I was like, oh, here I am in the music industry, like helping people. I would like bring people to church. I'd hand out Jesus callings. That's just what I was doing, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, so this is it. And then I never really pursued anything else. And then it wasn't until Russell and I were married and we went on the road with some friends who were just like, come hop on the bus for the weekend. And we're like, okay. And I was sitting backstage and like really significant artist just sat down next to me and I was sitting on a couch and he was like, just told me everything about his life. And I was like, this is insane. Why are you talking to me? And I had this like out of body experience. And I was like, oh, this is what I saw. Like, this is what the Lord showed me.
That's the vision you had.
And I thought it was just going to be through photography. And I was like, cool, great. And I wasn't, in no world was I trying to date an artist to like have this experience or like make it happen. Now looking back, I'm like, oh wow, I completely forgot. And isn't that funny? Like the Lord can show you stuff and we forget.
Yeah.
Like the Israelites forgot. We forget.
Right. Exactly.
And I did until I like was in the moment and it was like this, that's so Raven moment. Just like zoomed out. I was like, oh my gosh. And it just like hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah. Wow. On the couch and everything.
On
so
the
not
couch
just
and
like this
everything.
deep conversation.
Yeah.
So are you that friend, would you say, to people that they just naturally can open up to? And
Yes, Russell makes fun of me for it. He will say it's like his favorite thing, but like we'll be at a party somewhere and he'll be like, where is she? And he'll look over and someone's just like crying on my shoulder, telling me something. And honestly, I don't have the best memory in the world. So I'm like a really safe place. Like I'll be like, oh, they'll be like, remember I told you? I was like, oh yeah. Like I don't,
you don't have to worry about me telling anybody else.
No, you don't. I just won't retain it.
So maybe the gift of empathy then, that is.
I love that you say that. I don't know. I think the more I've engaged with the Spirit of God, I've been given more empathy. For sure. Like that, I'd say that's like a big marker of the more I like lean into the Spirit of God, I have more empathy. I can be way more judgmental the less of the Spirit I have.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm running on fumes and not like prioritizing my relationship with the Lord, I can be a little more judgmental. Not to the person, you know, but like just as a whole.
Yeah.
Being like, why would you make that choice?
Yeah.
You know?
No, yeah.
But no, when people are talking to me, I really do care. I want people, as a 3, I want people to succeed in life. And to me, success is not, I don't care about your bank account. I know some of the saddest, richest people you'll ever know.
So true.
And I'm like, and I'm thankful, honestly, that we've had that insight into like, you can have all the success in the world and it still won't be enough. And just that perspective, not everybody gets to see from the other side. And we have. And I just want to help people love their life, you know, and like know they're loved and have successful families and great relationships and like a rich life in the ways that matter. I've told Russell a dream of mine is to have a retreat center for families, like touring families that are in the throes of it. Like,
wow.
If a friend on the road came to me and was like, our marriage is in trouble, I would be like, go here. I'm going to send like counselors and you're going to get an intensive and with like Christian-based counseling and try and save marriages. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
That is something I just like care so much about.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that I even asked you that question
Yeah.
and that you're like.
I'm like, that's the first time I've said that publicly. So
wow. Yeah.
yeah, everyone can hold me to it. But that is a dream, definitely a dream of mine.
I want to hear a little bit about your faith journey. You said you prayed that prayer in high school about, Lord, wherever I'm supposed to go to school, make it very obvious, open that door, close the others. Did you grow up with that strength of level of faith?
Yeah, my parents are believers and really modeled believing really well, I would say. Yes, they took us to church, all that, but like my mom was always sitting there with her Bible open and my dad was waking up at 5 to read his Bible on his exercycle because he's also a 7 and can't sit still. Like you marry your dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, they modeled that for me. And I grew up in a Presbyterian church that would be almost non-denominational vibes. And I remember the first camp I went to in middle school and I did all that, you know, the classic summer church camp. And that's when I was like, oh, this is real. They actually played the video of the Passion of the Christ and I'm like, that's pretty graphic for like a 5th grader.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Yeah. But I remember just being wrecked.
Wow.
And I was like, someone loved me enough. Like the ultimate thing you can do for someone is die for someone. Like if there was a car barreling towards my kid and I jumped out in front of it, like that is like the ultimate sacrifice of love. And I was like, someone loves me this much. And I felt different. Something switched. And have I done it perfectly? Definitely not. You know, I was like in middle school and, you know, you're still a middle schooler and you're figuring it out. But I always wanted to reflect the Lord. Like I tried my best and I know there's times I didn't do it. But
Fortunately, God doesn't require perfection from us. Right?
I know, but as a 3, that's really hard for me. But I'll never forget, I got a message from one of the guys I went to high school with as we were graduating. And it was so interesting. And he was in the musicals with me. And like, we liked each other every now and then, but never really dated. And he was just like, I wanted to end this season of knowing each other with, it was so funny. I was like, this is so like profound for a high school boy. He said, I've always admired that you've always stuck to what you believe. Even, he said, I might have given you a hard time, but I've always admired that you've always believed what you've believed. And in my high school, there was a lot of, in Milwaukee, it was a lot of Catholic, Lutheran, not a ton of Protestant. So I was a little bit an outsider. Like I was one of the few who like went to church things and like wanted to go to church things.
Yeah.
Plenty went to church things, but like were forced to. And I really wanted to. And so I thought that was really interesting that he said that. And I was definitely left out of a lot of stuff because I wasn't going to the parties, and it wasn't the times that it is now that I can't fathom like being on my phone and seeing everyone hang out without you.
Right.
That would be horrible. Like if you're a young person listening to this, like I don't know how y'all do it. Like I really have empathy for that. I just found out on Monday when they talk about it. So I was like, maybe it's better you found out in advance, because I would be like, don't show your face. Don't show you're disappointed. Because it was on the spot. You found out real time, like face to face.
When I look back at time, because I had a similar high school experience or even with my kids, but when I look back at all of those things, I just really see God's hand of protection of not putting me in those situations of being tempted to make a bad choice because I was at the party or, those kind of things. But I've seen so many times where God kept my kids from being a part of something, or even from my experience. I'm so thankful that at the time it didn't feel great.
Right.
But now when I look back, I'm like, wow, that was just the hand of God.
Yep.
I feel like protecting me from circumstances that I may not have handled well. I don't know. Well, you may have heard that women over the age of 30 should be using a nightly retinoid, but did you also know that we should be using a vitamin C serum? Well, during the day, it helps to protect your skin from future damage and boosts the efficacy of your sunscreen. Using vitamin C serum at night helps to promote collagen production, which of course we all need. And I've been using the BAREFACED Liquid Gold Vitamin C Serum morning and night for several months now, and I've noticed such a difference in my skin since I started incorporating it into my routine. I cannot recommend this product enough. I love it. You can get 15% off your purchase when you use the code MAMA15 at barefaced.com. So you and Russell had the same major at Belmont. I'm going to guess that's how you met. Or did you strike up a conversation in class?
We were just friends. Honestly, it's so anticlimactic. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, how did you guys meet? Because I really do feel like our love story is so special. Like, I really believe that. But I'm like, this part's not that exciting. We don't remember it. I think it was just like Russell Dickerson present, Kailey Seymour present, like just in the same class. I remember the first time I heard him sing. But I just always remember like hugging him. He was always my friend. He was always everyone's friend. And he's still everybody's friend.
Did y'all have a big friend group that you kind of would do
kind of, the music school was so small. I think
Yeah.
we started with maybe 50 people in the class, and our class graduated with like less than 20.
Oh, okay.
So of the commercial voice major. So it was just, we were all always around each other. It wasn't this big epic moment of like, is that my future husband? It's also, I was dating someone from back home who I thought I was going to marry. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't walking up to guys being like, oh, is this my future husband?
Yeah, you weren't looking at it.
I wasn't looking. And I wasn't just paying attention. And as I said, my memory's not that great. And neither is his. So we're just like, I don't know what happened.
Like you were just kind of always there.
Yeah, you were just always there, honestly.
What's the story on remembering him sing for the first time?
We were in our classical class, and he sang El Shenandoah. And it's funny, back then he could sing, well, he still can sing. He just chooses not to. He can sing like Josh Turner, like very, very low. In the mornings, he's like, good morning, babe. But so he could sing so low. And so he sang that song so low. It was like rumbling the room. And I was like, holy smokes, this guy can sing. And that's what I remember. I remember being like really impressed. And then, but he kind of stopped singing like that, because he was just trying to be someone else. He's like, okay, I'm going to be me. But he thinks it's not hype enough. like he needs something like more exciting. He can't just sing low all the time. He thinks it's like puts people to sleep.
Yeah.
Which he's not wrong.
Yeah, he's actually got a really big range, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
like
that's
pretty astonishing. But
I do remember Carol telling the story of when she saw the shift, because same thing, she said that you guys were friends.
Yeah.
He had some type of surgery.
Yeah, he had a hernia surgery.
Okay, that's what it was.
This is when she knew he liked me, and also when I stopped liking him. But please tell this story.
Oh.
Because I'll tell you my side.
No, yeah. So, I mean, you'll have to go back and listen to Carol's version of it. I just remember her saying, I feel like she even named something you brought to him. You came to the house.
Yep.
He had this surgery, and lots of friends were coming in.
Lots of
through
girls,
the door.
specifically.
Yes, I think she said lots of girls coming
Yeah.
through. And I can't remember what was different. Either you stayed or you kept coming back, but this was at the time when she realized you weren't going anywhere.
Well, I love that. We love Carol. I love that Carol's always been Team Kailey.
Oh yeah, you also broke up at some point, and
yeah.
I remember she said she was so mad at Russell.
I know. His dad called me and was like, "What is he thinking?" And I was like, "I don't know. I can't help you with this information." No, so we were just friends, and I think we had kissed at that point. We kissed at a graduation party. And we were like, oh no. And we both were like, I don't know. Let's not mess up. I like you as a friend so much. Like, you mean so much to me. I don't want to like lose you. We both kept going back and forth like that.
I'm assuming the relationship with the Milwaukee boy was done.
Oh yes, 100%. Like a year prior. Yeah. Like,
oh wow. Okay.
Like way before. And he had hernia surgery, and I was about to go on a mission trip. And I was like, oh, I'll make you broccoli cheddar soup is what I made him. My mom's broccoli cheddar soup. And you always want a Wisconsin girl bringing broccoli cheddar soup. Like, that was a big flex, honestly. It's a great recipe. My mom is like the soup whisperer. It is so good. Not good for you, but
lots of cream,
good.
yes.
And I was like, okay, this is going to make him fall in love with me.
Yeah.
Way to a man's heart.
Was that the goal at the time? Like, you had kind of progressed
I
to,
definitely
really
had
like
a crush. And I was like, okay, what are we going to do here? So I go and I bring it to him, and I was just going to drop it off. And I think he asked me to stay maybe. And I sat at the table and we like chatted, and I'd never met his mom. And, and all of a sudden his phone starts blowing up from like these other girls who also were bringing soup and stuff to him. And I was like, absolutely not. I was like, okay, I'm going to go. And I just like left, and I went to Guatemala on a mission trip. And honestly, like the previous relationship, I'd been cheated on. And so I just had a lot of trust issues, even with the Lord, that I had to work through of like, why did you let me get hurt? Like, why did this happen? And I just found, I remember everyone went around, they're like, what did you take away from this trip? And I remember saying to everybody, I was like, I feel like I got my joy back. Like, it was stolen and I got it back. And I felt so significantly changed. It was a really cool camp. It was it was for missionaries' kids who live in Guatemala. So they were American kids who aren't Guatemalan. And it's a summer camp for them, like putting on the same kind of summer camps that we have here.
So you went there and put on the camp for
for
them.
these American kids. And they call them like third culture kids because they're not really American anymore, and they're not really where they're living, and they're doing what their parents are called to. And so it's really kind of cool that I got to experience that, because my kids will have something similar, like not quite the same, but they're called to what we're called to. And so they're going to go live a life with us that they may or may not want to do. And like, to have talked to kids navigating that, I'm just now live processing, is actually kind of cool. But anyway, I got back from that, and he texted me like, why are you not at my house or something? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just not. And he was like, come over. So I went over, and there were friends at the house, and we like sat in a tree, and he was like, how was your trip? I was like, amazing. But I just like did not want anything to do with him. And I just don't think he knew how to handle that. Because obviously these girls were flocking to him. I was like, bro, eye roll. Like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not pursuing you. That's not happening. And so I just kind of bailed. And that's when he was like, wait. And that was kind of the start.
On the outside looking in, it just seems like you two really were made for each other. I mean, it really is sweet to see how your gifts complement each other and your personalities and all the things. And talking about gifts complementing, I mean, literally, your gifts helped boost Russell to really get his start and get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
So you guys dated for how long before you got married?
2.5 years.
Okay. And pursuing music, doesn't have a record deal at this point, right?
Nope.
Okay.
He had a publishing deal.
Gotcha.
And so he, honestly, senior year of high school or college, he signed a publishing deal. And he was in a publishing class, which is so funny. Like, he was negotiating his own publishing deal while in a publishing class in college. And so he was like balling. Like, he was like, it wasn't a big deal, but like at the time, for a college guy whose rent is $300 a month, he was like buying cool jackets from All Saints and stuff. I was like, dang, taking me on nice dinners. I was like, okay.
And just let me pause for 1 second if you're listening. And I try to kind of point this out because we talk so insider sometimes. But publishing deal means that Russell, for the first time, was actually going to be paid to write original music.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why it was a big deal.
I mean, he was making like a teacher's salary, you know, but he was doing it.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal. And so
For sure.
when we got married, we got engaged, and we were engaged for 3 months. And he was like, you have 4 months. Let's I just want to be married to you. Like, I'm like, great. Love it. I see you. And I raise you to 3. And so, cause we wanted to live together, you know, all that. And I was like, okay, we'll get married fast. Well, while we were engaged, he got dropped from his publishing deal.
Oh.
And so he was about to be completely jobless. And we had this conversation, we were reflecting on this the other day. And he was like, should we delay the wedding? Like, I don't have a job. And I was like, no, we're not delaying the wedding. I was like, I don't care. Like, I really don't care. I was like, I'll pick up more babysitting. Like, I'll do my photography stuff and we'll be all right. Like, we'll figure it out. And now looking back, I'm like, man, that was a little bit crazy. Like,
that was a pretty bold step.
Yeah, it was. And so he didn't have any income for like several months.
Wow.
And that was the year we made a joint annual income of $12,000.
Was it really?
Yep. And our rent was $900. So I'm like, how did we survive? We lived off gift cards from our wedding, like Visa gift cards, and did what we could. Returned some stuff that we didn't need from our registry, and then bought Visa gift cards with the returned to have like cash. Yeah, we were frugal. Yeah. We did what we could.
You figured it out. So at that point, was he still playing out and doing kind of
not a lot? He was more writing than anything. And then that year, the first year we were married, he wrote Yours and Blue Tacoma and Every Little Thing.
All 3 of those were the first year of marriage. Wow.
Yeah.
Did they all 3 go on that first album?
They went on the EP, yeah.
Okay.
Yours was the one that he was like, this is the one that's going to change our life. And it was 4 years from when he wrote it to when it went number 1.
4 years.
4 years.
Wow.
And so we had been turned down left and right. And I was like, well, this is my background. Why haven't I thought to make you a music video? Because we were relying on my money that, like, I don't know why I didn't process that we could do his.
Yeah.
I was like, because we wouldn't get paid for it and we needed money.
Right.
So like all my work energy
job.
was for money. I was like, wait, why am I not making you a music video? Let's just go make a music video. And we did. And we went down a road and like truly God showed up and like a whole thunderstorm rolled in and it ended up being so epic. It was like nominated for a CMT. And I just did it by myself. I shot it, edited it, threw it, color corrected it. Like I did all of it and just put it on YouTube. Wow. And that's when it, like, everything changed. That's when people started to find it. But we were just going to go out and do test footage because I was like, I think I know how to do what I want to do, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Like slowing the film right and like all these technical things.
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to make sure I'm going to do it right. And so he was walking out the door in like workout shorts. I was like, why don't you get dressed just in case?
Just in case. Oh, good call right there.
And he did. And then there was no stylist. There was no hair person. There was no gaffer. There was no lighting. There was nothing. Nothing.
Oh my goodness.
And then I was like, all right, God, this is what I need. Obviously he knows what I need, but I was just laying it out. I was like, I need all these shots. And then as soon as I have everything I need, let's let it rain. Like, let's go. And sure enough, like I had everything. And he was walking down the road with a guitar, actually, which we didn't end up using this. And it started to drizzle. And I was like, put it down, throw it in the car, back up, go, go, go. We need this take right now. And we back all the way up and he starts walking. It just gets progressively like crazier.
Stronger and stronger.
There's lightning in the back. Yeah.
Okay, I want to play a little piece of sound if I can get this to work from your sweet mother-in-law. We've talked about her so much today, but she's pretty awesome. And I'm hoping that I'm just going to be able to play this into the microphone. But this is her talking about your role at this stage where you guys are. And it's so sweet. Okay. Carol.
Her role in the beginning was everything. I mean, packed up the merch, sold the merch, took all the pictures, videos, everything.
Oh, that's super
And it's
proud.
been such a joy to watch her be able to slowly step back from each position and just be able to be the wife and the mother on the road now and just watch and enjoy. But without her, we wouldn't have come this far because
Really?
she did everything. Yeah. I mean, he was the one up on stage. She was the one back taking care of all the details.
Is
That made me cry.
Isn't that precious?
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really sweet. And for her to see and acknowledge that, like, I
Yeah.
mean, it makes me teary
Yeah.
just thinking about her appreciation for you, which, a mother and daughter-in-law can sometimes be complicated.
Not us.
Yeah.
I adore her. Like I remember praying for my mother-in-law in middle school. That's how much because my brothers were so much older, I watched them get married and I watched that dynamic.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'm praying for my mother-in-law now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like who my husband's family is matters to me.
Right. And as a brand new mother-in-law, I see the importance in it.
Yeah.
And of course, I've been blessed as well.
Yes.
And so
Oh, she's amazing.
she's precious, but just so thankful, for that relationship. But I loved hearing her talk about, your role in all of that. It's interesting to me that you said as we began, you're still in every meeting. You're still, a big part of it. But the fact that you have been able to step back and, if you want to go on the road, great. Because you guys kind of have committed to that. I mean, at least you did with one kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But trying to maintain that unit even on the road some,
Yep.
which not everybody really chooses to do.
Yeah, I think it's because I was in the van that I know what a luxury the bus is. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of wives come in when everything's really established and bougie and nice. That was not me. I have like the most disgusting pictures of truck stops where I had to brush my teeth or like sleeping with the seatbelts in our back and hoping the bass player doesn't fall asleep, driving all of us while we drive through the night. It's just like, I'm so grateful for where it's at. And it is a grind. It is incredibly difficult in having the kids, but I bring help with the kids, which makes it easier. And
Your mom and Carol go sometimes, right?
yeah, so my mom did the longest time, and Carol was doing mostly like international stuff because my mom is like 70 something and she's in her 60s. So my mom is she's not as mobile for like Europe,
Right.
But Carol crushes it, and my dream life is she retires and comes with us everywhere. But my mom did it for the longest time until she started having some back pain. And that was earlier this year, and we just had to pivot. And so that was kind of hard for me because I have a hard time asking for help. And for me, I want my kids' connection to be to our families. So like I was a nanny in college. That's also how we survived our first year of marriage. I think I nannied 3 years into our marriage for this one family. Love them.
Was that the main source of y'all's income in those really difficult days?
Yeah, that and my photo stuff. And so I have this attachment to these kids that I've seen maybe twice since they were like 13. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just understand what that looks like. And if you have the luxury of that being someone that even if, to me, I'm like, my kids may not remember most of this, but like they will know. Mm-hmm. And I will tell them how much time they spent with their grandparents. And I think I lost all my grandparents by the time I was 11. And so I think if I just knew that, it would be really comforting to me somehow that like I'm connected to them in ways I didn't even realize.
Right.
And like have a relationship like that. So it's just family. It's just so important to me. Like I think if you are blessed with a healthy family and it's a healthy choice for your family, I encourage it because it's been really sweet for us.
Yeah, and so helpful, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So now when you go on the road with both boys, you have someone, either personal assistant, nanny, like how do you guys kind of manage the road life?
Yeah, we have a nanny or just pretty much anyone we can get to come with
Hey,
us.
want to go on the road?
Yeah. And it's kind of like the opposite of 9 to 5. They're like 5 to 9. So
Okay, yeah.
they do bedtime, bath time, because that's during meet and greet and show and all the networking stuff that we do.
Yeah.
And then the early mornings, because we're up so late. So I tried to do it by myself initially because I was like, oh, thank God we finally have our own bus. This is the goal. We have our own space. I wasn't trying to have more people around.
Yeah.
And I was like, like 2 nights in of being up till like midnight. He was still little enough I could like wear him, or he'd be asleep on the bus and we'd be hanging out in the front with everybody. And then he'd wake up at like 6, and it was 2 nights of that. And I was like, nope, Mom, what are you doing next weekend?
Exactly.
And so she came, and that's been just such a help. But then we get to have the boys there's nothing to do during the days.
Yeah.
Like you're either you go. That's why so many artists golf. People have to be like,
Yep.
what is it with country music singers and golf? There's nothing to do during the day.
Yeah, they have all day to figure out, find
You got to
something
work at
do.
night.
Yeah.
So like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You don't want to sit on the bus and watch movies. Like you want to go do something. So we hang out with the kids. We go to aquariums or
Find something in that
Yeah.
town to go and
It's
to
really
do.
special, yeah.
Yeah. So are you guys at the point now where you have a family bus, Russell's
Yeah.
bus, and then the band's on a bus? So it's really just y'all.
yeah. And we tried to wait to have kids until we saw that second bus. Because I really felt like the Lord was like, we're going to multiply your family when it won't divide your family. And,
that's good.
and I was like, okay, that's my goal. Like because I watched it happen, I was like, when he was doing 130 something shows, I would have been home alone with our kid and he would have been missing everything.
Yeah.
No,
No, not good for either of you for
no,
sure.
no. And I remember watching an artist friend of ours like leave within the first couple weeks of their firstborn. And the look on his face, like when he came home and saw how much she had changed, it'd been like 4 days. And it broke my, like I could cry thinking about it, and it wasn't even my husband, and I was like, I can't stomach that.
Yeah.
I don't want him to miss it. He doesn't want to miss it.
Didn't Russell almost miss Radford's
Oh,
birth?
sweet Lord, he did. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What is that story? I remember it was dramatic.
Yes. And honestly, I have, to those that were responsible for it, I'm like, for real, like y'all knew I was pregnant and you still booked a show 3 days before I'm due.
Was it 3 days before your due date?
Well, no, the show was actually a week and something. He was a full week before I was due, but they went ahead and canceled. It was like Birmingham and Louisville. And in their defense, they're like, well, it's close. And I was like, yeah, but it's a second born. Like how they can come fast.
For sure.
And so when we got new managers and first thing they did, they were like, these shows are going away. I'm like, this is insane. Why are these shows on the books?
You're like, I love you
so much. I really appreciate your ministry here. And so he was on his way back he had a show in Kansas City, and with Remington, I was induced. So I didn't really know the signs of labor. And I was induced 2 days late, thank God, because he was 10 pounds, 4 ounces. I was like, if we would have gone a week later.
Were you and Russell big babies?
Russell was.
Okay.
No shot. He's huge. People are always so surprised.
Yeah, when they meet him in person.
They're like,
Yep.
you're so tall.
Yeah.
Somehow his pictures don't convey that. But yeah, he's 6'4", like 220 or whatever. He's just like a big guy. Everyone's like, were you an athlete? He was a band nerd. But yeah, with Remington, thank God I was induced. And then with Radford, I started to just feel nauseous. I was like, I don't feel good. Did I eat something wrong? And then I started to feel some contractions. And I was like, okay, I do remember these. And he was on stage in Kansas City, which is 10 hours away. But I texted his driver. I was like, you better haul it. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I, thank God, went to sleep. I only woke up a couple times, but I was just so anxious. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine if he will miss this. And it was 6 o'clock and they were getting close enough together. It was within 5 minutes. And I was like, I have got to go, because I had an epidural with Remy. Highly recommend, and others people opposed to it. I highly recommend.
Do it.
And I was like, I will not miss the epidural. So I drive Russ's truck to the hospital in labor, because my mom, there's no way my mom could have driven that truck. Like, absolutely not. So I'm filling out all the paperwork by myself. I'll cry again thinking about it. It got me emotional today. And my mom's with me, and then they put me in like the room, and he literally, as I'm parking in the parking garage, the bus was pulling up to the hospital, because our bus driver is the GOAT. And he's like, I don't know if I've ever driven a bus so fast, which you're not supposed to go above like 60.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so it took him a second. I was in like the waiting room to make sure I was like enough in labor or whatever. And he walked in, and I just like burst into tears. I was like, he made it. It really felt, I was like, I love Father of the Bride Part 2. And it felt like that. It's like, he made it. Granted, our kid was not born for another like 6 hours, so he had plenty of time.
So what has been, just maybe if you look back at like these past couple of years with the success and all of just the different things, what are some of the highlights for you that as a family?
Honestly, like non-professional highlights for me is truly how our family has just stuck together. You know, like I think that's something to be so proud of. But professionally, I will brag on him for a second. Like, yours was nominated for Song of the Year, which is like one of the highest honors
For sure.
in our industry. He lost to Tequila, whatever. Very valid win. Love Tequila. Great song. But that was such a huge deal. And I think a lot of the tours he's been on have been such a gift. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, we got those because of our relationships. Mm-hmm. Like now knowing what it's like on the other side and asking people on tour how much it means, like who you pick, how much you care. So I think I'm so honored now living in the opposite side to look back and see like the choices our friends made to cheer us on and help pull us up and be like, you deserve to be here, and just stand up for us when there were probably other people being like shoved down their throats, and they're like, no, it's Russell.
Yeah.
And like Thomas Rhett was definitely one of those for us.
And for Connor as well. It's the first major tour he got to go on. And he's like,
TR's like, you're a good man.
Yeah, there's something about you. Yeah. How much do you guys take into consideration? Because, of course, you have been so blessed to tour with friends and good people. But when offers have come through the years, how much do you guys sit back and go, okay, is this what we want to be on? What we want to be around?
Yeah.
Is this the right environment for who we are?
Yeah, I think we take that more into consideration with private shows. And we've made some mistakes sort of recently, actually, that we were like, oh, we maybe shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Touring, no, we don't really feel like that. Because we really feel so called to it that it's like, it doesn't matter what their life looks like. We know like who the Lord wants people to be. Yeah. And so I don't think there's anyone too far gone. So we're always like, yeah, sure, put us in, coach. Let's go.
What if the purpose of that offer, that opportunity is for you guys to be the light in that, you know?
Yeah.
That's the way.
Yeah, we've never turned something down, like a tour, because of someone's life choices.
Yeah.
And I think, like I had said, like I could be judgmental, right? And like I remember there was a story I'd heard about someone, and I was like, I can't get behind that. That really breaks my heart that like he made those choices. Mm-hmm. And then sure enough, we were like thrust into each other's lives, and he was the one talking to me, telling me everything about his life on that couch. And I saw a perspective. Granted, there's two sides to everything, but he really opened up. And I was like, interesting that I judged you, because you're actually living a really, a much purer life now than I realized. And the Lord really tried to shift something in me. It's like, you may hear all kinds of things about all kinds of people, but like, and I said to him in the moment, I was like, I'm really sorry for how Christians maybe treated you in that season of your life. And if they were judgmental, and I was like, I was judgmental.
Yeah.
And I just like owned it. Yeah. And he was like, it's okay. I understand why. He always says to me, like, there's nothing and no one too far gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. I love that. So what's coming up next that you're excited about? Like, what's ahead?
We're about to tour with Sam Hunt.
Oh my goodness.
Which
that's
will be so fun. Love him and Hannah. Like, love. So I'm really excited about that. We go to church together. It's cool.
So on tour with Sam Hunt. That'll be so fun.
Yes.
And then have you guys thought about what you're going to do when, you're a year and a half away from like real school? Will you homeschool, you think?
I think we're going to have to.
Are you really?
Yeah, because at least I don't want to do that middle school and high school. I want, hopefully at that point we can be at a place that it's like he's touring mostly in the summer.
Yeah.
And he leaves for things here and there, you know? But yeah, I'm a public school kid, grew up public school, love public school. And I was like, oh, we're for sure doing public school. And a friend of mine who's an artist's wife was like, oh, that's so cute. You think you can do that? I was like, why can't I? Like, I for sure can. She was like, no, you can only miss like 8 days. And I was like, oh.
So it's more about the attendance
issue
that you guys would have. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, no. So I really don't want to do private school. I don't know. But there's good co-op things here in the South. Like, it's not like homeschool. Where I grew up, if you did homeschool, like, you didn't talk to anyone except your family.
All these tutorials and stuff.
Yeah, so he would go somewhere twice a week. And he can go, like, Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday. I'd probably do Monday, Wednesday, so that we can all bus out on Wednesdays. It feels like a short-term season for that, but
just take one little season at a time, and you'll figure it out.
We'll
for
figure
sure.
it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is coming down the pipeline.
I know it'll be here before you know it.
Yeah.
Well, I loved getting to talk to you today and just hear a little bit more insight about road life, how you guys manage to, I don't know if you call it a balance or not, but make it all work and just family dynamic. And then you, I did not know until today that you were pursuing music in any way. So I think that's really interesting.
It's a very fun.
I knew you were the video girl,
fact.
though. Yeah.
It's a very fun secret fact.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kailey. I appreciate it.
You're amazing. Thanks for having me.
We all good?
You are so good at
Okay.
this.
Oh my goodness, you're so sweet. You know,
You're
it's
so
kind of
good at
funny.
this.
I was thinking last night, I was like, oh, I usually just will jot bullet points